Of the Father and Son and Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Let us pray thankfully, saying, Our Father who art in heaven. At the beginning, I would like to welcome all of you for this series. We'll cover the parenting series, which will cover child development and parenting strategies. And I would like to thank Father Jonah and all of you and the committee. They did a great job to prepare this series for the need of our diocese and for everyone. And today, as you know, that we will have the 5 years, 0 to 5 years of age, infancy to preschool presentation and workshop. And I just want to say that it's good to start today, because as a Coptic church, we celebrate today the 6th Sunday of the Lent, which the Gospel read from John chapter 9, which tells us about the healing of the man who was born blind. So the meaning of healing in the church, that's how this important for each one of us to feel this healing in Christ, and to seek each one is suffering from any hardship or disease or challenges, especially in this challenge time of pandemic. And that's why, as a mental health group under the True Physician Ministry in the Diakonia, we thought to prepare, we agreed to prepare such a series in parenting and for child development, and also to discuss all the challenges are facing the families nowadays. So I would like to welcome all of you for this series, and wishing for all of you all success in this great job and great ministry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Saidna. Hello and welcome everyone again to our 0 to 5 parenting seminar. This is brought to you by the Mental Health Committee of the Diakonia Ministry under the auspice of the Metropolitan Tribune and His Grace Bishop Abraham. As you notice, you guys are all muted, and you will be muted until the end of the presentation, up until our discussion group. So if you have any questions, please feel free to write them down, or you can put them in the chat box. We will get to them during our discussion hour. We will be recording the presentation portion, so you can turn off your camera if you like. And just a reminder, the purpose of this meeting is to provide helpful information and increase understanding of infancy and young children to build a healthy relationship and a strong foundation for parenting. We are here to support parents and know that you are doing your very best. Parenthood is a struggle. There is no such thing as a perfect parent. Every parent brings something beautiful to their relationship with their child that a how-to book could never capture. So you are doing amazing things than you realize. So with this presentation, we hope you can identify healthy, secure attachment, knowing what to look for, what to focus your energy on, how to create intentional moments that invest in the future development of your child. And so I will have Julie pull up the PowerPoint. Before we do, I do want to quickly introduce the panel of mental health professionals. I'm going to say their name and they're going to say hi so you guys can see them. I'm going to just go to the box to the next of me. I have Caroline Iskandar.
Hi, everyone.
And I have David Pattison.
Hi, everyone.
Joyce Khalil.
Hi.
Miriam Risk.
Hello.
Joanna Ishak.
Hello.
Julie Butros.
Hi.
Abuna Jonah.
Hello.
And Kiro Sorial.
Hi.
And myself, Monica McHale, and of course, Bishoy, our Compassionate Counselor is also doing his thing by admitting folks in. Have I missed anyone of the panel? Okay, great.
All
right,
you
go ahead.
missed yourself, Monica.
Oh, I did, Monica Mikhail. All right. Thanks, Julie. All right, let's go to the slide where all right, so we're going to first discuss child development, and then we're going to talk about age-appropriate behaviors, and then parenting strategies. And then we're going to do our 10-minute break, and then come back for discussion group, which also entails a Q&A. All right, so child development. Your child's healthy emotional and social development affects their early mental health. Early experiences and relationships impact and shape the circuitry of the brain. Understanding how important early experiences and relationships are to a lifelong development is one step in supporting children and families. As babies and children grow, abilities to form secure relationships, explore environments, and express emotions in a healthy way develops, which impacts their future behavior and relationship. So next slide, perfect. So from birth to 3 years old, a child's brain is undergoing a very important stage of development. A child's brain undergoes an amazing period of development from birth to 3, producing neural connections each second. The development of the brain is influenced by many factors, including a child's relationship, experiences, and environment. So creating a warm and loving environment helps your baby feel safe and loved, which promotes healthy brain development. Okay. So studies have found that being attuned to your child from the start by touching, holding, gazing, and playing with him or her is key to a child's stronger self-esteem and healthier relationship later. Studies show that babies who have that secure emotional attachment do better in school, do better with their peers. Soothing your baby allows them to feel safe. So it's the first thing to do in order for them to build that healthy connection. We must soothe our baby for them to feel safe and secure. And we do that by, of course, your touch, your warm response, your smile, your comforting voice. We know that when we are calm, we can stay regulated. Regulated is another way of staying calm. The learning begins when your child is feeling safe and regulated. Your child will be able to reach their milestones. And of course, keep in mind, every baby is unique with timing of their milestones. It may look different. But before we go on, I do want to say that it's normal for a child to experience stress early in their life. This stress will not necessarily affect the child as long as the child has the support of an attentive parent or caregiver who can help the child cope with adversity. Toxic stress occurs when a child is exposed to a traumatic experience like violence, abuse, neglect, extended hospitalizations, for example. Without adequate parental or caregiver support, this toxic stress can weaken the architecture of the developing brain of a child. As a result, your child may be at risk for developmental delays, mental health issues. It is important to care for your child, maintaining that close bond by giving your child, your baby, constant attention to foster that safety and security. So having secure attachment will help your baby have stronger self-esteem, like I mentioned, healthier relationships in life, and helps them feel safe and secure, and can help them reach their milestone. All right, next slide. Your baby's brain develops through interacting, observing, and doing things. Creating a stimulating environment can help to activate different parts of the brain. Playing is how your child learns to talk, listen, and think. I want to emphasize the importance of play. because play is the language in which your child communicates many things. So it's ideal to present different types of activities that offer your baby the chance to play. It's through play that they learn important skills like talking, listening, moving, thinking, and problem solving and socializing. So you can play and spend time with your baby, and these are just some examples that we've provided. Singing together, reading books, talking about what you're doing and seeing, describing to your baby what you're doing and seeing can also help stimulate that part of their brain, and playing games like peekaboo. Next, all right. So everyday moments can be used to stimulate your baby's brain development and to continue to develop your relationship with your child. Such as, for example, like I mentioned, you can give your child a bath. You know, during bath time, you can be talking to them. While they're eating their food, you can be talking to them. These are great opportunities for you to get to know each other and build that relationship. If it's in these moments that help your baby's brain form those new connections, which then prepares them for the next stage in their development. Other things your baby needs, of course, healthy food. Eating healthy helps the cell growth and balanced diet of fresh vegetables, fruits, and grains, and proteins. Moving and being active, this is where they develop their motor skills and allows them to explore their surroundings, which helps them think and learn. Loving relationships and interactions with others. This will help boost their communication skills and understanding the world around them. And then there's sleep. And of course, sleep is so essential because that's where the development takes place. All babies are different and they sleep in different ways at different times, but working with your baby to help them sleep is crucial for their development. All right, and next I'm going to hand it over to Julie.
Hi, for everyone who may be logged on after, my name is Julie. I'm going to be switching back and forth with Monica in the presentation today. We're going to start with a discussion about milestones and kind of what you should be expecting your baby and infant and toddler to be kind of reaching at different stages in their development. I really want to emphasize here that this is what that milestones are established in what is called like a normative range, which really just means that we expect to see the majority of these skills or abilities within this specific time frame. Every kid develops within their own kind of range. So we want to make sure that everything is discussed within range, and we're not holding our kids up to this like a ruler and saying you're not living up to this thing or that thing. But that being said, we'll talk about what kind of when to seek help from others. But if you feel that something is wrong or something your baby once knew how to do has now lost, you could always reach out, seek guidance from your pediatrician or from other professionals, depending on what their dilemmas may be. So milestones, like I said, are in a normative range. And then the only other thing I wanted to make sure we highlighted in this is that we're going to be talking for the majority of this presentation about children with normative development, right? So children that do not have neurodevelopmental disorders, whether that may be attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, autism spectrum disorder, learning disabilities, intellectual disabilities, all of the things that children may struggle with as a kid. Those require specific parenting skills, and we recognize that. And if your child is struggling with that, absolutely reach out for us. We could get you connected to resources and other valuable connections we could help you establish. But just for the sake of this presentation, we will be talking about like normally typical developed children. So children or babies within 2 to 4 months old should begin to look at their parents and they start to smile and laugh. They may have some movements and minimal facial expressions. They start to babble and make some noises. They can hold their head up. This is why tummy time is really important. You're developing strength in their neck. They start to turn their head towards sounds, which is them attending to you. And that's a skill that we want them to know how to do later when we're asking them to do things. So we're actually teaching them in these moments when we're calling their name and like clapping for them when they look over at you. Those are all really important skills that we're teaching our little ones even at 2 months old. Within 6 to 9 months, our little ones start recognizing faces. They sit without support. They have a preference for toys. They could start to have what is more like gross motor skills, so they could pick up bigger things, and they could pull themselves up to standing without holding onto objects. So you'll see them kind of grab onto the couch. At about 1 year old, they are often shy and nervous with strangers. This is a big one for us to be aware of, because we think that our kids that are usually really happy and playful, maybe they have something wrong with them because they're shy and we kind of overwhelm them. It's typical for kiddos at this age to feel shy around strangers, and it's actually good for their development and their safety, developing of their safety mechanisms. Also, they use simple gestures. They'll wave. This is when they start to do blow kisses. They'll do peekaboo. They say mama and dada. They may stand or take a few steps without support. At 18 months, so a year and a half, they begin to initiate play, right? They may pick up a toy and hand it to you and try and engage with you in play. They start to say several single words, right? Mom, dad, more, milk, individual words. And they know how ordinary objects are used. If you hand them a spoon, they know that we're talking about food. If you hand them a telephone, they'll typically start to know what we're referencing. At 2 years old, they start to show excitement around other kids. They repeat phrases or words heard to them, and they start to sort shapes and colors, right? Think about the toys that you purchase or have been given to you about their kids. It changes with their development in order to match what they're learning and what they're being able to do. They may put the circle on the circle plate, for example. At 3 years old, they exhibit a wide range of emotions. You could see a kiddo be very, very happy in 1 second and then screaming and very upset the next minute. They show concern for others. This is when your little ones will ask you, Mama, are you okay? You look sad. Or they'll say, oh, you're going to hurt yourself, because they've heard you say, oh, you're going to hurt yourself, sweetie, right? So they're able to show concern and play make-believe by saying, we're pretending. And it's always really sweet when they do that. At 4, they enjoy trying new things, and they talk about their known interests, right? You'll hear little boys say, well, I like this toy or that toy, or little girls say, I want to play this game. They also show basic grammar rules. That younger ones will say, I eated it, right? By 4, most kids are able to correct and say, I ate it, for example. At 5 years old, they like to sing, they dance, they will utilize those skills in play, right? With younger ones, they kind of keep it separate. It's like dancing time, versus 5 years old may be able to incorporate some of those skills all together. So like I said, developmental milestones are established in ranges. So if your kiddo is not meeting some of these milestones, or you feel that there is something that you are concerned about, you could absolutely reach out to your pediatrician. You could reach out to a mental health professional, depending on what it is that you're concerned about. And these are some things that maybe would be indicators that reaching out would be helpful. They're not growing at a steady pace. They had a skill that they now lost, like maybe they were speaking more and now they've stopped speaking. Littler ones that were potty trained stopped getting potty trained and are having more frequent accidents. They're aggressive or abusive towards other people or to their siblings, things like that, that kind of make you feel uneasy. You know your kid best. You are allowed to be the professional of your child. We can just help you guide that developmental process.
All right. All right, so this next slide talks about co-regulation. And so this term might be new to a lot of us. Co-regulation is where the parent and the child calm down together. So this is really important to know, because we can't expect our babies to calm down on their own. We need to do that through co-regulation first. And so co-regulation is a warm and responsive interaction that provides the support, coaching, and modeling children need to understand. So it's where the parent really models how to calm down, and you do this with your baby. So in order for your baby to stay calm, you need to show what it's like being calm. So being aware of your tone of voice, how you're holding your baby, removing any sort of situation that is triggering or stressful. And so it's really important to support your baby, coach your baby, model these things for your baby and children. So then that way, they can then to start to understand, express their emotions and feelings, and really process what's going on, and to really give them an opportunity to think. Because we can't think clearly when we're really stressed out, right? So it's really important that we, as parents, try and help our children calm by doing it with them. So that's called co-regulation. Self-regulation is that person's ability to manage their own feelings without anyone's help, right? It's on their own, it's on their self. And so eventually that's what we would hope for, right? Our children to be able to self-regulate. So it's their ability to manage their attention and emotions well enough to complete tasks, organize behavior, control their impulses, and solve problems constructively. So it's the idea of when we're highly emotional, super mad or stressed. As humans, we can't think clearly. We won't be able to learn or understand until we are calm. And so kids that struggle with self-regulation often have a hard time sitting still, concentrating, and participating in learning activities. Learning to self-soothe is a trial and error process as babies test ways to calm themselves. And so, babies learn to then self-soothe eventually when they're able to help them calm them down during these stressful situations. Babies then usually depend on their parents to help their nervous system when their need is trying to be met. And so children learn to trust adults and then be able to self-soothe by sucking on their thumb or their fingers, sucking on a pacifier. These things are ways that your baby is self-soothing. And your babies will always continue to need that adult assistance with soothing and regulating until they understand how to self-regulate on their own. And so adults play an important role in teaching and modeling how to regulate. Here are some examples of what you can tell your child. Maybe we can take a break from this toy because it seems to be upsetting you. Let's go get a snack and come back to it in a little. Or if you were watching a movie with your child, this part of the movie is going to be a little scary. If you get scared, it's okay to look away or hold my hand or squeeze your toy. Again, you're just showing them that you're validating that feeling, and you're showing them there are other ways to help regulate their emotions if they're feeling stuck, scared, angry, and so on. So it's important to talk them through it.
So kind of going through common age appropriate behaviors. Obviously, Monica just shared how important it is for us to model what appropriate behaviors are. Nonetheless, kiddos are kiddos. All kids will misbehave. It's a part of their nature. They're learning how to be human, really. Even kiddos that are 5, 6, 10 years old, they've only been on this earth for 10 years and they will misbehave. So parenting is a long and difficult and daily task. What you need to know about misbehavior, and it's the best way, we'll kind of talk about this throughout the rest of the presentation, is helping yourselves to respond to your kids is knowing what the misbehavior is saying. Children need our guidance in order to do better. We expect them to do better. We need to expect ourselves to help them do so, right? We need to help them correct themselves. We need to correct them directly. We need to give them alternative behaviors, alternative ways of expressing that emotion. For example, say they're upset and you are not happy that they are hitting you, right? We need to teach them what is an alternative and appropriate response to anger, right? Hitting feels natural to them, right? When they're angry, they naturally kind of just want to throw something. That's a natural behavior, and we want to correct that and give them an alternative. Buddy, why don't you sit on your hands? So one thing that I really want to emphasize is positive parenting interventions. This notion focuses on paying attention to your kids' natural capabilities and teasing out what may be causing or underlying any misbehavior that is occurring. a way that you could do that is by asking yourself these 4 questions. Is there a need for me to stop what I'm doing and address this unhelpful behavior by connecting with my child? Does my child have a physical or emotional need that is going unmet? Do I need to set a kind and clear limit for my child? Does my child need a safe alternative or better instructions? So one thing that I will say is that when you're littler ones, like you've just kind of maybe came home from the hospital, it's the first 6 months, maybe first year, when your kiddo is nonverbal, they haven't learned to speak yet. Parents are a lot better at stopping and asking themselves this question. What is going on with my kid? Are they hungry? Are they wet? Are they tired? Right? Because they're in their mind trying to figure out what is it that my kiddo needs. As your kid develops verbal ability, right, when they start speaking, we begin to kind of rely on our kiddos to tell us what they need, even though they do not have that full capability yet. I want you guys all to think about a time that you knew what you wanted from someone. Maybe it was your spouse, maybe it was your parent, maybe it was a friend, maybe you wanted a hug, but you couldn't get yourself to say that. It's even hard for us as adults. Littler ones maybe don't know, and even if they do know, maybe they don't know how to ask. So one thing we can do is continue that behavior that we did when we were young, when they were younger. Are they hungry? Are they wet? Do they need to go to sleep? But extend those needs to, do they need attention? Do they need a hug? Do they need distraction, right? When we all get bored, we get antsy and we do things to correct or help ourselves. They may not know how to do that. Kiddos that are bored in church, they don't know what to do with themselves. We have to be able to help them do that by asking ourselves this question: what is underlying the unwanted behavior that's happening? And so one thing that I've heard a lot from various parents is like, well, they're doing it for attention. And I really want to correct some of that meaning, because attention is a human need. God created us out of love. Love is a need that we have. And that need is just as strong as needing food and needing to go to the bathroom. So when we're thinking, well, they're doing it for attention, maybe we can redirect the positive attention. Good job, sweetie, you're doing really well on that homework, or you completed that puzzle really well. Other things that kiddos needs: validation, acceptance, a sense of belonging, praise, unconditional love, a positive environment to feel safe. All of these things are needs. And if we start to think about that in that way, we may be able to respond to misbehavior a little bit differently, because it's no longer, well, they're doing it to get my attention, I'm going to ignore it. Maybe I can like hone in on that need and do it in a way that is helpful to the kid. Because when needs go unmet, children tend to show us behaviors that are not helpful. They'll do it in another way in order to get the attention that we need.
Right. When we're going to talk about tantrums, and like Julie mentioned, behaviors tell us something. There is something that they're expressing to us. So tantrums, when your child throws a tantrum, and parents are very familiar with these behaviors, right? They're screaming, they could be yelling, there's crying, or holding their breath. They might be hitting themselves or others. They're probably rolling on the floor, or they might be stomping their feet. Tantrums and meltdown and hissy fits can be over almost as quickly as they start. Some are as brief as 20 seconds, while an extreme tantrum can go on for hours. Very common. When your kid is throwing a tantrum, it could be a sign, like Julie mentioned with babies. You know, this is a way that they are trying to express themselves, but they're not doing it effectively. They don't have the right words to tell you how they feel. It could be a sign that your kid is frustrated, confused, scared, or overwhelmed, tired, or bored, hungry and thirsty, furious, or maybe all of these things at once. So the tantrum is your chance to help your child learn to manage their own frustration and anger and calm themselves down. When you learn how to stop your child's tantrum, you are giving them very important skills and setting them up to deal with life's challenges. And so in the next slide, we are going to run through a scenario where I can walk you through this tantrum. Let's see. All right. So in practice, it can look like this. Theo's mom got up and helped him with his tantrum by staying present and close by. Theo's mom validated his needs and desire to play with the phone once the tears had passed. You wanted to play with my phone and I didn't let you, and that upset you. Theo's mom put the phone away to reduce frustration and have it out of reach. Theo's mom gave him some alternatives. You can play with the Play-Doh or you can choose another toy. All while mommy is holding and hugging Theo. So I want to highlight some key points here. All right, so when your child is tantruming, it's important to not do anything to escalate the tantrum, to escalate that kind of behavior. You want to be nearby and very patient and very compassionately just waiting till your child is de-escalating, so calming themselves down, right? You are there, you're just waiting for them to calm down, because once they're calm, that is their opportunity, that's their signal saying, okay, I'm ready to listen now, I'm ready to kind of talk, I'm calm enough, right, to engage that interaction. But don't engage them if they're highly reactive, because your message is not going to get through. So the second thing I want to point out is that she waited until her child was calm enough. And the clue here is that once the tears had passed, he's done crying, he's calm enough. Parents, you are the expert here. You know when your child is calm enough to listen. So here, Theo's mom acknowledged and validated his feeling. Theo's mom is actually modeling for him, communicating his feelings. She's saying that I see that you're upset because I took the phone away, that I won't let you play with mommy's phone. And you are feeling upset, right? She's acknowledging his feeling. And then she followed it with a opportunity to give him a chance to play, because essentially that's why Theo's upset. He wants to play, whether it's with mommy's phone or something else. Giving your child an opportunity to play with something else, giving them choices so they can feel a little more in control and a little independent. So give them options. You can play with the toy, or you can play with Play-Doh. And then what I loved about the scenario is she loved on her child. A lot of times when children act out, they think to themselves, oh, I must have been bad. And children are not bad. You know, we want to help our child understand that you are not a bad child. They are just struggling with their feelings. They're struggling communicating, and you want to love them and let them know that you're there and that you're able to redirect them and let them learn. This is a learning opportunity, and praise them, give them that kind of attention, so you can motivate them to continue to listen and follow your directions. And I just want to include that, make sure you're, make sure displaying affection for your child outnumbers any consequences or punishment. Hugs, kisses, all of that reassure your child of your love. So, and we'll talk more about that positive reinforcement.
So to follow up kind of on the idea that Theo's mom had given Theo a direction, right? You can play with the Play-Doh or you can choose another toy to play with. This has something, the important thing here is the way that we communicate with our kids. Typically, the tone of our voice is sufficient enough for us to get to our kid what we need for them to do. This does not include yelling, unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess. It's our nature to want to yell when we're upset, right? I think we should reserve yelling for issues of safety. If your kid is going to run into the street, absolutely yell and get them into safety. But in situations when your kid is upset, you yelling at them is escalating the situation and you're unable to communicate with one another, right? So now the kid is hearing anger, they're feeling more feelings, and they're not able to self-regulate or even co-regulate because you are upset as well. So managing your own emotions is the first thing about effective commands. The next thing, which we've touched a little bit on throughout the presentation, is offering choices. Choices are really important for kids because they could help us avoid behavioral problems. They could also help us get our needs met, right? If we need our child to get ready, we can say, do you want to wear the dinosaur shirt or do you want to wear the truck shirt? Either way, the kid is getting dressed, and we can check mark that off of our list to do. That asking of choices offers kiddos structure because you're saying these are your choices, but it also helps them get a sense of independence, identity, and it helps them develop their personality. The things that we want for our kids when they grow up is for them to know who they are, what they like, what they don't like, and offering choices help with that. Our commands are going to change when our kiddos change in age. Younger ones can follow simple one-step instructions. Give the cup to mom. 2 and 3-year-olds can follow two-part commandments or commands. Go to your room and get your jacket. They could follow 2. 3 and 4-year-olds can follow 3-part instructions. Point to the cat, dog, and monkey. They can retain that piece of information in their mind long enough to be able to respond to the 3-part command. But the things that can be done to help improve instruction following are these things. If your kiddo is struggling when you're asking them to do things, make sure you have their eyes when you're giving them an instruction. One thing for little ones is actually saying, can I have your eyes, right? Making it a playful game, looking at each other in the eyes before you give them an instruction. Talk to them only in their language and what you know they can understand. Keep it simple and give one instruction at a time if they're struggling to follow 2 or 3-part commands. Breaking instructions up into parts would be helpful. So if they're struggling with the 3-part, maybe break it down and give them 3 1-part commands. Go get your lunchbox. When they did, great job, honey. Can you go and get your jacket? That's separating it. And then the one other thing that I think is very helpful is asking your kids to repeat what they heard. That is really good for teaching your kid to have attentive listening skills, which we want our adult children to have. It's also really helpful to know that they were listening to you, because there are so many times when we're speaking to people and we're looking at them, but what they're saying isn't coming into our mind. So if your kiddo, if you say, hey, and what did mommy just ask you to get? If they didn't hear you or they don't remember, that's a moment for you to correct, and then you can praise them when they do that, rather than them walking away anxious, stressed because they don't know what you want from them. They come back and then we've escalated a situation. So asking for repetition is helpful. Here are some other things. I will give an example. This one we'll email the example of the PowerPoint or a copy of the PowerPoint for your own reference. But one thing that I can say is if your kiddo is struggling with specific parts of their day, for example, say you're really struggling in the morning to get them ready for school, help them with visual aids or visual cues. Create a schedule for them. Use sticker charts. Use things that they can reference that eliminates the opportunity of conflict between you and them, right? If they know they have to wake up, go potty, brush teeth, and then have breakfast, and that's kind of a part of their routine, then you don't have to prompt it every time, and it makes it easier for you and for them. There are a couple games that can help improve behaviors and following instructions. Simon Says, as silly as it is one of those games. We're teaching kids to listen and then to do based off of what they hear. When you say, Simon says, put your hand on your nose, the kiddo has to hear that and then do that. Simon Says can also get more and more complicated. Simon Says, put your finger on your nose and your hand on your belly or on your head. Right? It's a 2-part command and it's a game. So the kid is having fun doing it, but is learning the brain developmental pieces of regulating their emotion, regulating their excitement while still listening to instructions and doing that. Other things like robot games and drawing games can be helpful as well.
All right. This slide is focusing on positive reinforcement. There are different methods of teaching and instilling good habits and behaviors. Positive reinforcement is one of the most effective ways to encourage and motivate your child to behave appropriately. This is where you react or respond to your child's behavior in a positive way. It's important to reward the behavior you want to see more often rather than focusing on the negative behavior, the negative action. So this could be done when they're doing their chores, getting along with their siblings, completing their homework. They're not arguing, they're sitting and watching TV quietly. Catch them being good and praise them for that, recognize them for that, because they're going to feel motivated and they're going to continue doing better and making better decisions. And so you can use positive reinforcement to encourage these pro-social behaviors like sharing and preventing misbehavior. So positive reinforcement can encourage your child, motivate them into being more responsible. A little example that I like to use with parents, like for example, you go to work because you get a paycheck, right? That paycheck is that positive reinforcement. It keeps you going, it keeps you wanting to work hard. So like adults, kids who receive positive reinforcement for their good work are motivated to keep working hard. All right, so positive reinforcement, these are examples. So there are many ways to reinforce the behavior you want to encourage, and there are many free. You don't have to monetarily reward your child with money. There are many free ways of positively reinforcing them that doesn't necessarily need to be tangible item. Instead, you can reinforce them by, so we have the first one here. Oops, sorry. Sorry, Julie, next slide. Clapping and cheering, so giving a high five. Also, you can be letting them know exactly what they did really well, give them a thumbs up, offering special activity time. We're gonna read a book together, we're gonna play a special game together, offering praise. This is super important, offering praise, because this is what you're pretty much exactly trying to specifically tell them what you saw and what you liked, so they can continue doing that specific behavior. Well done completing your homework, right? You're being very specific with what you're praising them for. Or I liked how you helped your sister, right? Great job for cleaning your room. So you're being very specific with the specific behavior you want them to do more of. And of course, telling other adults how proud you are regarding your child's behavior while your child's listening also makes them feel good. Okay. So positive reinforcement also helps. You can do a sticker chart like Julie mentioned. There are also other things like a behavior chart and jars with marbles. So you can fill up a jar with a bunch of marbles, and all these marbles represent all the wonderful things that you saw them do. And at the end, when they fill up their jar, they get to I don't know, go out for ice cream or something. It's important to reward your child's behavior and efforts rather than focusing on the perfect results, right? So it's really, really important that you focus on the effort that they're putting into this. It's super important to recognize that, hey, your child didn't really do their bed perfectly the way you wanted it to, but they attempted to do their bed. And that's a huge step in recognizing that they at least made that effort, right? You're encouraging them, because the next time they're going to continue feeling encouraged, and they're going to make better decisions. Now, if you want them to make their bed a certain way, teach them, let them know how you want it. And again, continue praising them instead of fixating on the negative or it's not perfect. Because if we wait till it's perfect, we may never end up praising them. So again, there's no such thing as a perfect child. There is no such thing as a perfect parent. We can only help to reduce the misbehavior. And again, these tips is not going to help your child misbehavior disappear. We're gonna help reduce the misbehavior to eventually they'll grow out of it, and you may not have to deal with it. But it doesn't mean that you failed as a parent, just so you know. It's very important to keep that in mind. Positive reinforcement helps build your child's confidence level and self-esteem. And so these are different ways that you can reinforce these wonderful behaviors. So being a good friend, if you see them sharing with someone, being a good sport, having a good attitude about something, completing a chore, listening to your direction, when they're compromising or when they're being flexible, or when they handle a disagreement or a disappointment without a tantrum, using their manners, waiting patiently, helping you with that complaining, playing nicely with a sibling, playing quietly, putting in a lot of effort on a difficult task, showing compassion, staying at the dinner table without fidgety or getting up, talking about their feelings, right? You want to promote more of that communication, and helping them feel safe to do so is through that positive reinforcement. All right.
So all of this kind of, our hope in this presentation and in this parenting series is really to emphasize the parent-child relationship, and that being the first and primary goal of your parenting relationship with your kid, that it is ultimately a relationship, and that love and attention is what children and even adults need and seek. Doing that will help your kid grow and develop into the adults that you want them to be. Quality time is one of the roads that we can use to do that. One thing that you can implement starting this week, if you could, is quality time with your kids. Trying to have individual targeted time. If you know your kid loves to play with the trains, put your phone, put your laptop away, play with the trains with them, and engage with your kid in a way that helps them know that you see them, you love them, and you care for them. One thing that we see very, very frequently is that adults really don't know how to engage with kids, other than when they use questions. If you listen to a conversation between adults and children, it's often, how was school today? Where did you get your shirt? What did Mama and Baba say about going to church? Or who are your friends? Where are you going later? There's all of these questions that kind of get bombarded to the kid and asked all at once. Research has showed kids actually get kind of nervous when too many questions are asked to them, because they don't always know the answer to these questions and they haven't learned how to engage in two-way conversations. The most helpful thing to build a positive parent-child relationship is to reflect what the child is doing and feeling as a way of connecting. If they are super into their toy and you say, I see that you're focused so much on your toy, that is showing them that you see them and you know that that matters to them. Is different than saying, so what toy are you playing with? Right? Because I mean, as adults, if I was holding something and somebody came up to me and said, so what are you holding? You would be like, are you not even paying attention? Are you just talking to talk kind of thing? It's the same with kids. Balancing asking questions to challenge their brain is really great, but also being a mirror to them, showing them that you see them and you understand what they're doing and how they may be feeling, teaches them that they are a person and that you guys are in a relationship. So that was our presentation. We're going to give everyone a 7-minute break. We went 3 minutes over, so I hope you guys forgive me. In the meantime, go to the bathroom, do whatever you guys need to do. I'm going to be filling all the participants into 4 breakout rooms. We have 1 breakout room being hosted by Mona, Joyce, and Joanna. We have a breakout room being hosted by David and Caroline, and then a 4th breakout room being hosted by Monica and myself. We will automatically prompt you to go into that breakout room